Ladies, let's talk about something monumental, something that could change the way you navigate this wild, chaotic universe we call life. Imagine you're standing on the launch pad of your own personal mission, not to Mars, not to the stars, but to a place even more profound, the core of your own power. You have a superpower, one that's been hardwired into you by millions of years of evolution, a force so potent it can shift the trajectory of your relationships, your career, your entire existence. This isn't some fluffy self-help nonsense. This is about the raw, undeniable language of your body, a code that speaks louder than words, a signal that cuts through the noise of social politeness and reveals the truth of human connection. And the best part, you don't even have to open your mouth to wield it. Welcome to the journey of unlocking the silent signals that make men's hearts race, their pupils dilate, and their instincts scream, "This is the one." This is your mission, should you choose to accept it. To master the art of reading and commanding the unspoken language of attraction, to harness it like we harness rocket fuel at SpaceX, and to propel yourself toward a future where you're not just a participant in life's grand experiment, you're the architect. Let's get one thing straight. The world is a messy, complicated place. People lie, they hide their intentions behind smiles, handshakes, and carefully curated words. But here's the kicker, biology doesn't lie. When a man is drawn to you, when his primal instincts kick into overdrive, his body betrays him. His eyes linger a fraction too long. His posture shifts to face you like a satellite locking onto a signal. His voice drops to a husky murmur. These aren't random quirks. They're the output of a system as precise as the algorithms running Tesla's self-driving cars. And you, yes, you have the power to decode this system. Why does this matter? Because understanding these signals isn't just about romance, it's about taking control of your destiny. It's about knowing who's genuinely captivated by you, who's worth your time, and who's just passing through. It's about building a life where you don't waste a single second on people who don't see your value. This is the kind of clarity that separates those who drift through life from those who shape it. Think about it like this. When we built the Falcon 9, we didn't just slap some metal together and hope it'd fly. We studied every variable thrust, aerodynamics, fuel efficiency down to the last decimal point. We obsessed over the data because we knew that precision is what gets you to orbit. The same applies to you. The language of attraction is your dataset, and your body is the most advanced sensor array on the planet. Men's bodies are broadcasting signals all the time, pupils dilating like black holes, heart rates spiking like stock market surges, subtle leans that scream, "I can't look away." These are the metrics of desire, and they're as real as the telemetry we pull from a Starship test flight. Your job isn't to guess or hope, it's to observe, analyze, and act with the precision of a mission control engineer. And trust me, when you start seeing these signals for what they are, it's like flipping a switch. The world stops being a guessing game and becomes a chessboard where you're always 3 moves ahead. Now, let's talk about why this feels so personal, especially for you. As women, you've been taught to doubt your instincts, to second guess whether someone's interest is real or just polite small talk. Society's been feeding you this idea that you need to wait for explicit permission to shine, to be bold, to take up space. That's nonsense. I've spent my life ignoring people who say, "It can't be done." When they told me reusable rockets were a pipe dream, I didn't listen, I built them. When they said colonizing Mars was science fiction, I didn't argue, I started designing Starship. And I'm telling you now, you don't need anyone's permission to own your power. The signals men send when they're drawn to you aren't just clues about their feelings. They're proof of your influence, your magnetism, your ability to shape the world around you. Every time a man's pupils widen when he looks at you, every time his body instinctively turns toward you in a crowded room, that's evidence of your gravitational pull. You're not just a bystander in these interactions, you're the force that sets them in motion. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about reading men, it's about understanding yourself. Your body speaks its own language too, and when you learn to control it, you're not just reacting to the world, you're programming it. Think of yourself as the lead engineer of your own life. Every gesture, every glance, every subtle tilt of your head is a line of code in the software of human connection. When you walk into a room with your shoulders back, your gaze steady, your presence undeniable, you're not just signaling confidence, you're rewriting the rules of engagement. And when you combine that with the ability to read the signals coming back at you, you're operating on a level most people never reach. This is what separates the dreamers from the doers, the followers from the visionaries. At XAI, we're building AI to accelerate human discovery, but you're already a discovery engine, decoding the universe one interaction at a time. Let's break it down further. Why do men's bodies give them away? It's biology, pure and simple. When a man's attracted to you, his autonomic nervous system goes into overdrive. His pupils dilate because his brain is screaming, pay attention. His heart rate climbs because his body's preparing for action. His posture shifts because his instincts are pulling him toward you like a moth to a flame. These aren't choices, they're hardwired responses forged over eons of evolution. Back when our ancestors were figuring out how to survive on the savannah, these signals were how they communicated desire, trust, and connection without saying a word. And today, they're still at work, broadcasting truths that no amount of smooth talk can hide. When you learn to spot these signals, when you see that subtle lean, that lingering glance, that unconscious touch, you're not just reading a person, you're reading the code of human nature itself. This is where the real power lies. Most people stumble through life, misinterpreting signals, chasing the wrong connections, wasting years on relationships that go nowhere, but not you, not anymore. When you start seeing the world through this lens, you're not just reacting to what's in front of you, you're anticipating it. You're not just hoping for the right connection, you're engineering it. This is the mindset that drives everything I do. At Tesla, we didn't wait for the world to demand electric cars. We built them and made the world want them. At SpaceX, we didn't wait for NASA to figure out Mars. We started planning the trip ourselves. And you don't have to wait for someone to validate your worth. You can see it in the way their eyes lock onto yours, in the way their body gravitates toward you, in the way their voice softens when they say your name. These are the data points of desire, and they're yours to command. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds intense. What if I'm not ready to take on the world like that? Let me tell you something. Nobody's ever fully ready. When I started SpaceX, I didn't know if we'd make it to orbit. When I poured my own money into Tesla, I didn't know if we'd survive the 2008 crash. But here's the secret. You don't need to be ready. You just need to start. Start paying attention to the signals around you. Start noticing the way a man's eyes light up when you walk into a room, the way his body angles toward you even when he's trying to play it cool. Start experimenting with your own signals. Stand a little taller, hold that gaze a second longer, let your presence fill the space. Every step you take toward mastering this language is a step toward a bigger, bolder version of yourself. And let's be real, this isn't just about romance. The skills you develop here, observation, precision, confidence, apply to every corner of your life. When you can read a room like a Neuralink chip reading brain signals, you're unstoppable. You walk into a boardroom, a party, a negotiation, and you know exactly who's drawn to you, who's intimidated, who's trying to hide something. You don't just survive those moments, you dominate them. This is the kind of power that builds empires, that launches rockets, that changes the course of history. And it starts with something as simple as noticing a man's pupils dilate when he looks at you, or the way his hand lingers when he brushes past you. These are the sparks that ignite revolutions, and you're holding the match. So, what's the first step? It's simple. Pay attention. Start treating every interaction like a data point in the grand experiment of your life. When you talk to a man, don't just listen to his words. Watch his eyes, his hands, his posture. Is he leaning in, even just an inch? Is his voice dropping, like he's sharing a secret just for you? These are the clues that tell you you're not just in the room, you're commanding it. And don't stop there. Experiment with your own body language. Try standing a little straighter, holding eye contact a little longer, letting your smile carry a hint of mystery. You're not just a participant in these moments, you're the designer, the engineer, the visionary. You're building a future where you don't just react to the world, you shape it. This journey isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the most powerful version of you. It's about taking the raw materials of your biology, your instincts, your presence, and turning them into something extraordinary. At SpaceX, we took the idea of reusable rockets, something everyone said was impossible, and made it real. At Tesla, we took electric cars from niche to world-changing. And you can take the subtle signals of your body and turn them into a force that commands attention, respect, and connection. This is your mission. This is your launch pad. The question isn't whether you're capable, it's whether you're ready to ignite the spark and soar. So, ladies, let's get to work. The universe is waiting. All right, ladies, you're strapped into the cockpit of your own personal mission now. You've accepted that your body's silent language is a superpower, a force as potent as a Tesla battery pack powering a revolution. But here's where we shift gears and aim for the stars. This isn't just about owning your presence, it's about cracking the code of the men around you. When a man's drawn to you, his body becomes a live feed of raw data, broadcasting signals he can't control, no matter how hard he tries to play it cool. His eyes betray him, his hands give him away, his voice cracks under the weight of instinct. These are the metrics of desire, and you're about to become the master analyst, reading them with the precision of a Neuralink chip decoding a brainwave. This isn't about guesswork, it's about science, instinct, and power. Let's dive into the signals men send when their biology screams, I can't resist you, and show you how to use this knowledge to steer your life toward connections that matter. Picture this. You're in a room, maybe a coffee shop, maybe a boardroom, maybe a crowded party. There's a guy across from you, and he's talking words, words, words. But words are just noise if you don't know what's happening beneath the surface. At SpaceX, we don't just listen to what the rocket says, we study the telemetry thrust, velocity, heat signatures. The same applies here. A man's body is his telemetry, and when he's attracted to you, it's like a rocket firing on all cylinders. His pupils dilate like twin black holes pulling you in. His body angles toward you even if he's pretending to focus elsewhere. His voice drops, gets breathy, like he's sharing a secret only you're meant to hear. These aren't random, they're the output of a biological system that's been running since humans were hunting mammoths. And you're the engineer who gets to read the dashboard and decide what to do next. Let's start with the eyes, because they're the windows to the soul, or more accurately, to the autonomic nervous system. When a man's into you, his pupils don't just dilate, they explode, growing wide even in a brightly lit room. It's not magic, it's biology. His brain's screaming, focus on her, and his eyes obey, soaking you in like you're the only thing that matters. But it's not just size, it's the way he looks at you. His gaze lingers, holds a beat longer than it should, like he's trying to memorize every detail of your face. You'll catch him glancing at your lips, not because he's planning his next sentence, but because his brain's already imagining what it'd be like to kiss you. This isn't polite small talk, this is raw, unfiltered desire. And when his eyelids drop just a fraction, giving you that half-lidded, dreamy look researchers call bedroom eyes, you've got a signal as clear as a Starlink satellite pinging the network. You're not just in his line of sight, you're the center of his universe. Now, let's talk about his body, because it's doing things his brain hasn't approved. When a man's attracted, his torso turns toward you like a compass needle, finding north, even in a group setting where it makes no sense. His feet point your way, his hips align, his shoulders square up, not because he's choreographing it, but because his instincts are pulling him closer. At Tesla, we design cars to respond to the driver's intent, but this is a man's body responding to you, no steering wheel required. You'll notice him closing the gap, stepping into your personal space, not aggressively, but like he can't help it. Maybe he leans in to hear you better, even when the room's quiet. Maybe he finds excuses to be near you, brushing past just a little too close. These are the thrusters firing the subtle moves that say, I want to be where you are. And when you see them, you're not just observing, you're collecting data that gives you the upper hand. Then there's touch, the ultimate giveaway. A man who's just being friendly keeps his hands to himself. But a man who's hooked, he can't resist. It starts small, maybe his fingers graze your arm when he hands you a drink, or his shoulder bumps yours when you're walking side by side. These aren't accidents, they're test flights, little experiments to see how you respond. As his confidence grows, the touches get bolder, his hand lingers on your back, or he rested on your arm while laughing at your joke. And here's the kicker, he's not just touching you, he's watching how you react. If you lean into it, if you don't pull away, his brain lights up like a successful starship landing. This is where you take control. By recognizing these moments, you decide whether to fuel the connection or let it fizzle out. You're not a passenger, you're mission control. His voice is another signal you can't ignore. When a man's attracted, his vocal cords betray him. His pitch drops, gets huskier, like he's channeling some primal version of himself. He speaks slower, more deliberately, leaving pauses that hang in the air like the tension before a rocket launch. You'll hear breathy undertones, soft murmurs, maybe even a sigh he didn't mean to let slip. Why? Because his body's flooded with hormones, his breathing's deeper, his muscles are relaxed, all signs his biology's in overdrive. And when he laughs, it's not the polite chuckle he gives his boss. It's richer, longer, more genuine, because you're tapping into something real. At XAI, we're teaching AI to understand human intent, but you're already ahead of the game. You're reading it in real time. No algorithms required. Here's where it gets personal. As women, you've been in situations where you wondered, is he into me or is he just being nice? It's frustrating, like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. I get it. When I started SpaceX, people thought I was crazy to think we could make rockets reusable. They said, Elon, it's impossible. But I didn't listen. I looked at the data, ran the numbers, and built the damn thing. You can do the same. Stop second guessing and start observing. That guy who's leaning toward you, whose eyes keep drifting to your lips, whose voice softens when he says your name, he's not just being nice. His body's telling you the truth, and it's your job to listen. This isn't about manipulation, it's about clarity, it's about cutting through the noise and focusing on the signals that matter. Why does this matter? Because life's too short to waste on connections that don't spark. I didn't build Tesla to make mediocre cars, I built it to change how the world moves. You're not here to chase half-hearted interests. You're here to build relationships that electrify your life. When you can read a man's signals, you're not just reacting, you're choosing. You're deciding who gets your time, your energy, your brilliance. And let's be honest, you're not here to settle for anything less than extraordinary. Every signal you decode is a step toward a life where you're not just wanted, you're revered. You're not just noticed, you're unforgettable. But this isn't just about romance. The ability to read these signals is a master key to every interaction you'll ever have. In a boardroom, you'll spot the colleague who's drawn to your ideas before they say a word. At a party, you'll know who's genuinely curious about you and who's just passing time. This is the kind of intelligence that sets you apart, that makes you the one who doesn't just survive social dynamics, but dominates them. When we launched the first Falcon one, it crashed, then it crashed again. But we kept going, analyzing every failure until we got it right. You can do the same. Every misread signal, every awkward moment is just data. Learn from it, adjust, and keep moving forward. The more you practice, the sharper your instincts get until reading a room feels as natural as breathing. So, how do you start? Simple. Observe like your life depends on it. Next time you're talking to a man, don't just hear his words, watch his eyes. Are they locked on you, or are they darting away? Notice his hands. Do they fidget, or do they reach toward you? Listen to his voice. Does it soften when he talks to you, or is it the same as when he's ordering coffee? These are your data points, your telemetry, your map to the truth. And don't be afraid to experiment. Lean in a little closer and see if he mirrors you. Hold his gaze a second longer and watch his pupils. You're not just collecting information, you're running a live experiment, and every result brings you closer to mastery. This is your edge, ladies. Most people stumble through life, blind to the signals swirling around them, but not you. You're the one who sees the world in high definition, who reads the code of human connection like it's a blueprint for a starship. You're not just reacting to the universe, you're engineering it. And every time you spot a man's unconscious signals, every time you see his body betray his desire, you're one step closer to building a life that's not just good, it's galactic. So keep your eyes sharp, your instincts sharper, and your ambitions sky high. The universe doesn't wait, and neither should you. Ladies, you're now deep in the mission. You've learned to read the signals men broadcast when their biology takes over those dilated pupils, those subtle leans, that husky voice betraying their desire. You're decoding the universe like a SpaceX engineer analyzing a rocket's trajectory. But here's where we push the throttle to full power. This isn't just about understanding others, it's about commanding your own presence, your own signals, your own gravitational pull. Your body is a machine, a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, and you're about to take the controls. This is about programming your own silent language to radiate confidence, magnetism, and unapologetic power. It's about stepping into every room like you're launching a Tesla Roadster into orbit, leaving everyone around you captivated, inspired, and just a little bit in awe. This is your moment to become the architect of your own destiny, to wield your body's code like a visionary reshaping the future. Let's start with a truth that hits harder than a starship landing. You already have everything you need. Your body, your gestures, your gaze, they're not just tools, they're weapons of influence, as precise as the algorithms driving Neuralink. But like any powerful technology, you've got to learn how to use them. Too many women walk through life, unaware of the signals they're sending, letting society's expectations dim their light. Not you, not anymore. You're done shrinking, done doubting, done waiting for permission to shine. Just as I told the world we'd land rockets back on Earth when everyone laughed, you're going to tell the world who you are with every step, every glance, every breath. This isn't about changing who you are, it's about amplifying it, turning the volume up on your presence until it's impossible to ignore. First, let's talk posture, because it's the foundation of your silent code. When you walk into a room, your body should scream confidence before you say a word. Stand tall, shoulders back, spine straight, chest open like you're about to address the United Nations or pitch a mission to Mars. This isn't just about looking good. It's about signaling to the world that you're a force. Evolutionary biology backs this up. When you're confident, Your body naturally aligns to project strength, just like a peacock flashing its feathers or a rocket standing proud on the launch pad. Try this. Next time you're in a social setting, consciously pull your shoulders back an inch, lift your chin a fraction, and feel the difference. You're not just standing, you're commanding. People notice, men notice, and more importantly, you'll feel it in your core, like you've just ignited the engines of your own personal starship. Now, let's get to your eyes, because they're your most powerful weapon. Your gaze isn't just a look, it's a laser, cutting through the noise of any room. When you lock eyes with someone, don't just glance and dart away. Hold it, steady and unflinching, for a beat longer than feels comfortable. This isn't about staring someone down. It's about signaling that you're present, that you're engaged, that you're not afraid to connect. When I'm in a meeting at Tesla, I don't look away when someone challenges me. I meet their eyes and let them know I'm all in. You can do the same. Try softening your gaze just a touch, letting a hint of warmth or mystery creep in. It's like adding a touch of finesse to a rocket's guidance system, subtle, but it changes everything. And when you're talking to a man, let your eyes drift to his lips for a split second. It's a signal as old as time, and it'll spark a reaction he can't control. Your voice is another tool you've got to master. You don't need to shout or overdo it. Just think of your voice as the thruster that adjusts your trajectory in a conversation. When you're feeling confident, your voice naturally lowers, gets smoother, carries a rhythm that pulls people in. Practice speaking a little slower, letting your words land with intention, like you're unveiling a new Tesla model to the world. Pause for effect. Silence is as powerful as sound. It's like the moment before a rocket ignites, when everyone's holding their breath. And don't be afraid to let your voice carry a hint of playfulness or warmth. When I talk about colonizing Mars, I don't just rattle off facts. I let my passion bleed through. You can do the same, letting your voice signal that you're not just present, you're magnetic. Touch is where things get bold. I'm not talking about anything overt, just the subtle, deliberate use of contact to amplify your presence. A light touch on someone's arm when you laugh, a brief brush of fingers when you hand them something. These are your micro thrusters, small moves that shift the dynamic of an interaction. When I shook hands with the first investors at SpaceX, I made sure my grip was firm, my presence undeniable. You can do the same with touch, using it to signal confidence and connection. But here's the key. It's got to feel natural. Practice in low-stakes moments. Touch a friend's shoulder. When you're excited, let your hand linger a moment when passing something to a colleague. You're not just making contact, you're programming the moment, setting the tone for how people respond to you. Let's talk about movement, because the way you carry yourself is like the choreography of a SpaceX launch. Every step should feel purposeful, like you're walking toward a goal bigger than the room you're in. Don't rush, move with the calm assurance of someone who knows they're changing the game. When you sit, don't shrink into the chair. Own it like you're at the head of the table. Cross your legs with confidence. Let your hands rest openly instead of fidgeting. These are the details that make people lean in, that make men notice you're not just there, you're unforgettable. And when you're in a group, position yourself to face the person you're engaging with, like a satellite locking onto a signal. It's a small move, but it's as powerful as a rocket's course correction in deep space. Here's where it gets real. As women, you've been told to play small, to avoid being too much. Maybe you felt that pressure to dim your light, to not stand out too boldly. I get it. When I started pushing for electric cars, people told me I was nuts, that gas was king. But I didn't listen, and neither should you. The world doesn't change by playing it safe. You don't launch a rocket by keeping it on the ground. Every time you adjust your posture, hold a gaze, or let your voice carry confidence, you're defying that outdated programming. You're not just signaling attraction, you're signaling power, ambition, a refusal to be anything less than extraordinary. And trust me, when you start owning your body's language, the world takes notice. This takes practice, no question. The first Falcon 1 launches failed spectacularly, but we didn't quit. We analyzed, adjusted, and flew again. You'll do the same. Start small. Try standing taller in your next conversation or holding eye contact a second longer. Notice how people respond, how the energy shifts. You're not just tweaking your body language, you're running experiments, collecting data, refining your approach. Every interaction is a test flight, and every adjustment brings you closer to mastery. At XAI, we're building AI to understand human behavior, but you're already ahead. You're living it, shaping it, mastering it in real time. Why does this matter? Because your presence isn't just about attracting men, it's about building a life where you're the one calling the shots. When you walk into a room and own it, you're not just catching eyes, you're setting the agenda. You're not just starting conversations, you're starting revolutions. This is the kind of power that builds companies, that launches missions to Mars, that changes the course of history. And it starts with something as simple as the way you stand, the way you look, the way you move. You're not just a woman, you're a force of nature, a visionary, a game changer. So, ladies, it's time to program your own code. Adjust your posture, sharpen your gaze, let your voice carry your ambition. The world's waiting, and you're ready to launch. Ladies, you're now deep in the mission, holding the controls of a machine more powerful than any rocket I've ever built. You've learned to read the silent signals men send when their instincts take over those dilated pupils, those unconscious leans, that voice dropping like a Tesla, shifting into ludicrous mode. You've also started programming your own body's code, standing taller, gazing sharper, moving with the kind of purpose that makes the world pay attention. But now we're not just playing the game, we're rewriting the rules. This is about turning your understanding of these signals into a strategic superpower, a tool to navigate relationships, career, and life with the precision of a SpaceX landing. You're not just reacting to the world, you're engineering it, building connections that spark opportunities that ignites, and a future that's as bold as a mission to Mars. This is where you take the data you've collected and use it to dominate, to choose who gets your time, and to shape a life that's not just good, it's revolutionary. Let's start with the big picture. Life is a series of interactions, each one a chance to steer your trajectory. Every conversation, every glance, every moment you share space with someone is a data point in the ground experiment of your existence. At Tesla, we don't just build cars, we analyze every sensor, every driver input to make vehicles that anticipate needs before they're even expressed. You can do the same with human connection. When you know a man's body is screaming attraction, his eyes locked on you, his posture pulling him closer, his hands itching to make contact, you're not just observing, you're holding a map to his intentions. And when you combine that with the signals you send, you're not just in the moment, you're 5 steps ahead, plotting a course to exactly where you want to be. So, how do you turn this knowledge into strategy? First, let's talk about filtering. The world is full of noise, people who waste your time, connections that go nowhere, opportunities that fizzle out. I didn't get SpaceX off the ground by chasing every idea that sounded cool. I focused on what could fly. You need to do the same. When you spot those signals of genuine attraction, say a guy whose pupils dilate like supernovas when you talk, or whose body angles toward you like he's orbiting your gravity, you know he's worth your attention. But if those signals are absent, if his eyes are darting to his phone or his posture screams disinterest, you don't waste another second. You're not here to chase lukewarm connections. You're here to build something extraordinary. This is about prioritizing your energy, focusing on the people who see your value, and cutting loose the ones who don't. Now, let's get tactical. When you know a man's into you, you can calibrate your approach like a rocket, adjusting its trajectory mid-flight. If the signals are subtle, maybe he's holding eye contact a bit longer, or his voice softens. When he says your name, you respond with restraint, mirroring his energy to build trust. A light smile, a slight lean, a playful pause in your speech, these are your thrusters, nudging the interaction forward without overwhelming it. But if the signals are loud, say he's closing the distance, touching your arm, his voice dripping with that primal edge, you can escalate with confidence. Match his energy, let your gaze linger, or throw in a bold touch of your own. It's like shifting a Tesla into high gear. You're not just keeping up, you're setting the pace. The key is precision. You're not throwing signals blindly, you're responding to his data with calculated intent. This isn't just about romance, it's about power. The same skills you use to read a man's attraction can transform every interaction in your life. Walk into a job interview and spot the interviewer's body language, open posture, steady eye contact, a genuine smile, and you've got their attention. Lean into it, project confidence, and steer the conversation to your strengths. At a networking event, notice who's drawn to you, who's mirroring your energy, and focus your time on those connections. This is how you build alliances, how you turn fleeting moments into lasting opportunities. When I started Neuralink, I didn't pitch to everyone. I targeted the people whose eyes lit up when I talked about merging human brains with AI. You can do the same using body language to identify your allies, your supporters, your champions. But here's where it gets personal. As women, you've felt that sting of doubt, that moment when you wonder if you're reading someone right, if you're overstepping, if you're enough. I've been there, not in romance, but in the boardrooms and factories where people told me my ideas were too big, too crazy, too impossible. When we lost the first three Falcon 1 launches, the world said, "Give up, Elon." But I didn't. I looked at the data, adjusted the plan, and kept going. You can do the same. Those moments of doubt, they're just noise. When you see a man's body betray his attraction, when you feel your own signals landing with impact, trust that data. It's real, it's raw, and it's yours to use. You're not just a participant in these moments, you're the one steering the ship. Let's talk about escalation, because this is where strategy becomes art. When you know someone's hooked, you don't just sit back, you move the interaction forward with purpose. Say you're at a party and a guy's giving you all the signs. Eyes locked, body turned, voice low and deliberate. Don't just smile and nod, take control. Suggest moving to a quieter corner to talk, or lean in and share something personal to deepen the connection. It's like plotting a course to Mars. You don't just aim for the planet, you calculate every burn, every adjustment to land exactly where you want. And if the signals aren't there, pivot, politely disengage and focus on someone else who's worth your time. This is your mission, and you don't waste fuel on dead-end trajectories. This takes courage, no question. When I poured my own money into Tesla during the 2008 crash, I wasn't sure we'd make it. But I bet on the vision, on the data, on the belief that we could change the world. You're doing the same every time you use your body language to steer an interaction. It's a risk, sure, but it's a calculated one. And the more you practice, the sharper your instincts get. Start small. Next time you're in a conversation, notice the signals and adjust your own, maybe a bolder smile, a touch on the arm, a pause that pulls them in. Watch how the dynamic shifts, how the energy changes. You're not just reacting, you're engineering the moment, building a connection that's as powerful as a SpaceX launch. Why does this matter? Because your time is your most precious resource. I didn't build Tesla or SpaceX by chasing every shiny object. I focused on what could change the game. You're doing the same when you use body language to filter and steer your interactions. You're not here to settle for mediocre connections for people who don't see your brilliance. You're here to build a life that's electric, that's bold, that's as audacious as a colony on Mars. Every signal you read, every move you make is a step toward that future. You're not just navigating relationships, you're architecting a legacy. So, ladies, it's time to take the helm. Use your knowledge like a mission control dashboard, analyzing every signal, calibrating every response. When you see those signs of attraction, decide what they mean for you. Do you escalate, pivot, or walk away? When you send your own signals, do it with the confidence of someone who knows they're changing the game. This is your power, your strategy, your edge. The world's not just watching, it's waiting for you to lead. So aim high, move with purpose, and don't settle for anything less than stellar. The universe is yours to conquer. Ladies, you're no longer just a passenger on this wild ride through the universe. You're the commander, the visionary, the one calling the shots. You've learned to decode the silent signals men send when their instincts take over, those raw biological cues that scream attraction louder than words ever could. You've mastered your own body's language, projecting confidence with every step, glance, and word, like a Tesla humming with electric power. You've turned those signals into a strategic playbook, filtering out the noise and steering interactions toward connections that spark and goals that soar. Now, it's time to take this mission to its final frontier, building a future that's not just bright but blinding, a life where your confidence is as unstoppable as a starship breaking free of Earth's gravity. This isn't about chasing fleeting moments of attraction, it's about forging a legacy of power, purpose, and unapologetic ambition, using every tool in your arsenal to shape a destiny that's as bold as a colony on Mars. Let's zoom out for a second. Life isn't a series of random encounters, it's a mission, a series of deliberate choices that define who you are and where you're going. Every interaction, every signal you send or receive is a chance to build something bigger than yourself. At SpaceX, we didn't just build rockets to get to orbit, we built them to make humanity multiplanetary. You're doing something just as audacious, crafting a life where you don't just exist, you dominate, you inspire, you redefine what's possible. Your body's language is your rocket fuel, your confidence is your launch pad, and the signals you've learned to read and wield are your guidance system. This is about more than romance, it's about leading with the kind of conviction that makes the world bend to your vision. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build, like a Tesla factory humming from blueprint to production line. And the foundation of that confidence, it's knowing you can read the room, shape the moment, and choose your path with clarity. When you walk into a space and spot a man's signals, his eyes lingering, his body gravitating toward you, his voice softening. You're not just seeing attraction, you're seeing proof of your influence. That's the spark that fuels your fire. It's the moment you realize you're not just part of the equation, you're the variable that changes everything. And when you pair that with your own signals, standing tall, locking eyes, moving with purpose, you're not just responding, you're rewriting the rules of engagement. This is the kind of confidence that doesn't just turn heads, it turns tides. Let's talk about how this plays out in the real world. Imagine you're at a networking event, surrounded by people chasing their own ambitions. You're not just there to mingle, you're there to make an impact. You notice a guy across the room, his posture open, his gaze catching yours, his gestures mirroring your energy. That's your data, your telemetry telling you he's drawn to you, not just as a person, but as a force. You don't shrink or second guess. You lean in, using your body language to amplify your presence, a steady gaze, a confident smile, a deliberate pause in your speech. You're not just making conversation, you're building a connection that could open doors, spark ideas, or change the trajectory of your career. And if those signals aren't there, you pivot, focusing your energy on someone else who sees your value. This is how you build a network, a life, a legacy by choosing where to invest your time with the precision of a Neuralink algorithm. But this isn't just about external interactions, it's about the internal shift that happens when you embrace this power. As women, you've faced moments where the world tried to dim your light, where doubt crept in like static on a Starlink signal. Maybe you've wondered if you're enough, if you're reading people right, if you're worthy of the attention you're getting. I've been there. When I poured everything into Tesla during the 2008 crash, people called me reckless, said I'd lose it all, but I didn't listen. I trusted the data, the vision, the mission. You can do the same. Every time you read a man's signals and see your own power reflected back, every time you command a room with your presence, you're silencing that doubt. You're proving to yourself that you're not just enough, you're extraordinary. This confidence spills into every corner of your life. In love, it means choosing partners who don't just want you, but revere you, who see your brilliance and match it with their own. In work, it means walking into meetings with the assurance of someone who knows they belong at the table, using your body language to project authority and win respect. In life, it means setting goals so audacious they make others blink, then crushing them with the same relentless drive that got us to orbit. When I started SpaceX, people said reusable rockets were impossible. When I pushed for Tesla's Gigafactory, they said it was too big, too fast. I didn't care, I built anyway. You're building too. Every time you use your body's language to assert your worth, to choose your path, to shape your future. How do you make this real? Start by setting your sights high. Don't just aim to be noticed, aim to be unforgettable. Practice your signals in every interaction, from casual chats to high-stakes moments. Adjust your posture to radiate strength. Use your gaze to draw people in. Let your voice carry the weight of your ambition. But don't stop there. Use the signals you read to make bold choices. Say no to connections that don't spark. Say yes to opportunities that scare you. Chase goals that feel as big as a mission to Mars. Every choice is a step toward a future where you're not just living, you're leading. And here's the secret. This isn't about perfection. The first Falcon 1 launches crashed hard, but each failure was a lesson, a data point that got us closer to success. You'll have moments where you misread a signal, where your confidence wobbles, where you wonder if you're doing it right. That's not failure, that's progress. Every misstep is a chance to refine your approach, to sharpen your instincts, to get better at reading and projecting the language of power. At XAI, we're teaching AI to learn from human behavior, but you're already doing it, living, learning, adapting in real time. Why does this matter? Because the world needs women like you, visionaries who don't just navigate life, but reshape it. You're not here to blend in, you're here to stand out, to build, to inspire. Every time you use your body's language to command a moment, you're not just influencing one person, you're setting a chain reaction in motion.